how this win can affect the team's confidence for the future, and what do you think about Szczęsny's performance? Thank you.
I think he made some mistakes, but every player in the first half made mistakes. So it's I don't speak about the performance of a player, not in this situation, because he also saved in the second half a big chance from Benfica. We win together, we lose together, and this is how we want to see it. And of course, I'm really happy for the team, for the fans, for the club to win this match, to came back, because they are really good memories from Lisbon.
This was a Champions League game between Benfica and Barcelona in Benfica, and it was one of the most exciting games of the Champions League, with 9 goals scored in the entire match. Barcelona started off in a 4-2-3-1, and Benfica started off in a 4-3-3. For Benfica, it was Koundé in goal, Araujo, Silva, Otamendi, Carreras, Arenas, Lulz, Koku, Aktürkoğlu, Pavlidis, Schledrop. For Barcelona, we had Szczęsny in goal, Alejandro Balde, Pau Cubarsí, Ronald Araujo, Jules Koundé, Pedri, Marc Casado, Raphinha, Pablo Gavi, Lamine Yamal, and Robert Lewandowski. So Barcelona's threat can come from anywhere over here, the 3 wingers, and not only that, they have a number 10 in Gavi, and they also have Pedri over here. So it can come from anywhere, and that is why it was very important to neutralize all these players, and Benfica could only do that if they maintain their very tight, compact structure. So Robert Lewandowski, as you know, he's the top striker, Barcelona's top scorer. Well, now Raphinha has become the top scorer, but the threat of Lewandowski, it had to be neutralized. So he was really good in these areas. But not only that, Benfica had to stop Raphinha as well. You have Yamal over here. But then this is not the only thing that they have to worry about. They have to worry about the runs from the midfielders. And then Barcelona plays high fullbacks as well. And because of that, they also have a threat of Jules Koundé entering the box. They have to look at Alejandro Balde as well, who plays crosses from here, but he just doesn't do that. He also moves inside. That's what he's been doing in the last few matches, that he's been moving on the inside. And because of that, that also becomes a threat. And so for Benfica, it was very important to have 2 players who could handle the threat on the wings. And so if Lewandowski pushes you back, he can not only attack this space. If he pushes you back and you make one of the defenders pulls you out, drags you out, Barcelona can attack this space. So it was very important to be mindful of that. So for Benfica, having that defensive strategy was very important to control Barcelona's transitions, their fast movements, and one of the best ways to do that was to stop the passes from coming to these players. Principally speaking, what Benfica had to do was, in the first instance, because they had to control Lewandowski and Raphinha, what they had to do was they had to have a very compact back line over here so that this space was covered. Lewandowski or Raphinha, they couldn't make that run between these lines. because Raphinha is very fast, so that Lewandowski or Raphinha don't get the pass, it was the midfield that had to intercept that line. We moved this guy over here. Orsnes was the guy who would try to intercept that passing lane. When Barcelona built up, Pavlidis was very important in the pressing role because he's one of the guys who has a good work rate, but Benfica needed him to drop deep, drag this player out, and then create this space so that when the ball was won in this area, because this is where they wanted to stop the central passes, and because of that central passing lanes blocked and Benfica's physicality over Barcelona, if Pedri got the ball, everybody was gonna, just jump on him. And so they wanted to first stop this connection from defensive line to the midfielders. But if the midfielders got it, then this line of attackers, that had to be totally blocked. And so there was a chance that they would win the ball here or on the sides. And once they did that, so this was the attacker that you had to drop back. He had to create that space over here and then use this space. If they won the ball, make those runs right behind Barcelona's line and make sure that, because Barcelona set up a good offside trap, so they had to make those delayed runs. And so if they get across, make sure the offside trap doesn't get triggered and they beat that. That is how they ended up scoring so many goals. Once Barcelona started circulating the ball between their back line, Benfica, they trigger their press and get on these players man to man, yet staying in that zonal compact situation, but having that one of their guys would definitely from the midfield three would come up forward and mark the players. So it's very important for Benfica to move inside and have their flat structure so that not let Barcelona have any passing lane or a man advantage. Their principle was compact, solid, and not let Barcelona have midfield control. Because of the quality of Barcelona's midfielders, especially Pedri, Gavi, and Marc Casado, Benfica didn't want Barcelona to let Barcelona have too much control through the midfield. And that is why everything had to be very compact and solid. On the left side, what Benfica wanted to do was that once they won the ball back, they wanted to focus on quick transitions. And that is the problem Barcelona had in the first half. They had the problem cutting off these transitions, and so the important role was for this left back Carreras. He was wonderful, outside, inside. He would basically overload this back line and by pushing out. And so when the Barcelona players came here, striker drop deep and the space over here, you could play that long ball or switch the ball or cross it out. From the left side, the ball's here, Barcelona press, we target the space. So this man had to move and these guys start making the runs like that. They wanted to focus on transitions and it became very hard for Barcelona to cut them off. Because when Benfica is basically building up, what happens is that the distance between, because Koundé is over here as well, he has to mark this guy over here and Yamal around here. So if Yamal is going to press him, before Barcelona covers that space, they want to make all these movements so that they can target the spaces behind Barcelona's line, which was obviously a very high line. So that's what they wanted to do. And if Yamal is the only guy pressing Carreras, because this guy has good technical quality, he can dribble inside. And if he dribbles inside, he can connect with this player, or this player can move into space and create that there's space over here, and utilize that. So you can get the ball here, and if he gets the ball here, then this guy can make the run, as well as this guy. And so whenever Benfica counterattacked, they usually had a man advantage over Barcelona. So Barcelona's Casado, it was sort of a disadvantage, although he's a very good player. But that's what Benfica looked to do, how to make that, turn that into Barcelona's disadvantage. Barcelona's fullbacks, they're always up high. So creating those 2v1s was always very easy to achieve. And because of Benfica's structure, this flat 4-3-3, the circulation for Barcelona was very difficult, and they could not find the passes. If you look at the passes, the most repeated passes for Barcelona in the first half, it was Araujo, Koundé, and Araujo, and Araujo Koundé. Barcelona's game became very stagnant. And if Yamal is isolated, because of that flat back four, Carreras was always on him. They're not going to let him take advantage of any of that 1v1 sort of a situation that he does. And once he did, Benfica always doubled down. Lewandowski also was a sort of a disadvantage for Barcelona in this game because there were errors in passing, there was poor support, and he couldn't control the ball well. There was a series of misalignments that hampered Barcelona's attack and connectivity. Koundé's game defensively was a bit weak in this game, which is not the usual case. He's a very good defender. But what happened was that when Benfica attacked in their first goal, when this cross came from here, and Koundé was trailing this guy. And because of that, once the ball crossed Araujo, nobody was marking. Koundé was, running after him, but he was slow. He wasn't cutting off that lane or getting in behind. Because if he got in behind, it would have been a foul. So, he had to be quick. And because of that, Benfica took advantage and they ended up scoring in the opening minute. And then there were further mistakes as well. If there was anybody who changed the game for Barcelona, it was Pedri. His performance was exceptional. He was the guy who was the most difficult for Benfica to control. He had 7 passes into the box, over 100 passes in the whole game. Because Barcelona is a high pressing team, he also had 6 ball recoveries, and that too in the final third. So he was Barcelona's main player who could cover the ball, make those crosses, and that's how Barcelona's goals happened. Hansi Flick had to do some adjustment, and in the second half he did bring on Frenkie de Jong, and that happened in the 60th minute. So it's very early, and because Barcelona, he wanted to give Barcelona more calm, more control, and dribble into the spaces. And once Frenkie de Jong came on, that is when Pedri started getting more space, and that is when Barcelona started scoring their goals. Because Florentino was literally man-marking Pedri, and before that it was very difficult for Pedri to create that space that Barcelona needed. Most people might not have noticed De Jong's role, but that is when the game changed when he came on. His impact on Pedri and the rest of the team was very good. The uniqueness of Pedri is that he can pass the ball the way Xavi used to pass the ball, but he can also drive with the ball, with the progressive carry. And once De Jong came on, all these things started happening. And that's basically where the game turned. Although it was a very clumsy game, there were a lot of errors. And that's why it shouldn't have been a high-scoring game. But because of the rain and because of, Szczęsny, he's not really used to the pace of the game anymore because he had retired. And because of that, so fine, there were errors. And then Benfica also, they took that goal kick. The ball hit Raphinha's head and bounced into the goal. He said his head hurt a lot. At least 3 of the goals shouldn't really have happened. Because of these errors, both teams were conceding penalties as well. Benfica conceded 2 penalties, Barcelona also conceded a penalty. It shouldn't have been a high-scoring game, but because of these mistakes, it was. And yet, Barcelona, they're a very high-scoring team. They had to turn the game around. And so it was Frenkie de Jong who had that role, who made it possible to bring out the best of Pedri's qualities. So another adjustment Hansi Flick did was that in his 3-4-3, that's the adjustment he made. Because of that, what happened was that because of Eric Garcia dropping in over here and Kobarsi, because these guys are very good passers, that's why he brought on Eric Garcia. Because of their passing quality, and you know, Araujo, he doesn't have that good, that great of a passing quality. So by bringing on Eric, what he did was Araujo didn't really have to step up into the passing game, and that improved Barcelona's passing. And because of that, these players were allowed to gain height. Raphinha, Ferran Torres, and Furman, you know, dropping in as well, dragging the players out. So that also helped Barcelona, and that is how Barcelona took advantage of the transitions, because these good passers came on. So Hansi Flick knew what he was doing. His coaching decisions for the game were really good.